I've got this over here. I'm going to keep this up here because I need something down here to turn against. But I'm going to take this and start to move things away. This one I have to turn upside down because this is already in. So this is reduced even if these aren't here. So let's do a swap of here. 2R, 2U, 2R, 2U, 2R, 2U. Okay, with this upside down, we're going to put this here. So this blue and silver comes to here. Again, I'm not worried about these guys at this point, so now this is in. Once this is in, let's now move another one down here to occupy that slot. So this is blue and yellow. This is already in. So let's take this and move this down. So you can see this goes much quicker now that I'm not worrying about reducing it. The reductive process is going to become too complicated at this point. But by all means, go ahead and give it a try. So this has to come down to here without destroying this. So I'm going to take this and let's move this over to here. Or, better yet, let's just take it out of the way. So I got to move this to here, so I'm going to flip-flop these two, which will end up flip-flopping these two. Actually, what I can do is move this over here, now do an adjacent edge swap. It'll flip these two, but who cares? 2R, 2U. So I'm using known algorithms to just move things. Now I'm free to take this, move this into here. So now we take stock of what we've got, and we see that all are moved in. These are in, these are in, these are in. These are reduced as much as we can. However, we got a little bit lucky because it doesn't always happen like that. More often than not, it's going to happen like this. Okay, you might have something a little more like this. We did a little bit of rearranging here in ways that might be a little subtle. But anyway, you can see at first blush, this is in here, this is in here, this is just the same over here. But this is not quite right. We've got this guy which is in, this little edge is right, the yellow and blue, but this blue and pink is not. And also this is not quite right either. This is good and this is not good. So what it appears to be is that these two need to be swapped. But nothing else needs to be swapped, so we have two that need to be swapped over here. This needs to, this needs to come over to here actually, and this needs to come over to here. So how do we do this? Is this a parity? Well, not exactly in the way that I would think about it. Because in order to swap these two pieces, you can't just do a single swap, as we all know from the law of cubes. So in order to do this, something else needs to swap, and we've got plenty of these little blue triangles here. I've got one here, one here, one here, and one here. Now earlier on I said that these pieces here are not really different in its basic kind as these pieces. These are corners and these are edges, but truth be told, they occupy a very similar place, which means we can swap these two and end up swapping these two. So that's rather these two over here. So that's perfectly kosher. You could do that. So that's really what needs to happen with this. So the way that we're going to do this, when you come across this false equivocation here where these two need to swap, which will allow for these swaps, first thing to do is go ahead and take these, put them in the same level. But not just the same level, make it to where the two that need to swap are controlled by different corners. So you don't want to put one here and the other here because they're controlled by the same corner. You want to have this here controlled by this corner and this up, say here or here, controlled by this corner or this corner. But suffice it to say, move it to the first level and then we can kind of work it out from there. So what I'm going to do is I'll just I don't know, maybe I'll move this guy down here and I'll just move this one up. So I'll move this down. Turn, 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 and you know the words to this algorithm. We also notice that we have some placement issues here. We could go ahead and fix that just for the sake of argument. I'll go ahead and fix that. 2R, 2U. You don't need to, but it'll look a little better, I think. 2R, 2U, 2R, 2U. Not necessary for the solve, but it keeps things nice and spick and span down here. Okay, so what are the two? Well, this one and this one. Let's take this and move this guy to here. Flip-flop these two. And the reason that I'm doing that is because I'd like the one that has to be moved. Actually, it's the yellow one, so it would make more sense to take this and move it to here, because that way this yellow and blue is controlled by this corner, while this pink and blue is controlled by this corner. So let's flip-flop these two. 2RU, 2RU, 2R2U, 2R2U, 2RU, 2R UI, 2R. So, simple, familiar algorithm, and that puts these where we want them to be. Now, if you don't like this here, we could swap these two and swap these guys back. It depends on what kind of OCD you have, but we can let that lie for now. So now that we've done that, the other thing that we want to do to really make this work is understand that we're going to want to swap blue corners. And in the process of swapping, we're going to be moving these guys out. We have to be careful not to destroy what we reduced. That's the whole point of this. The best way to do that is to move the blue ones on top. Get all these blue ones on top. Because if the blue one was on top, when we move these triangles to make an exchange, the way this blue one is now, if I try to exchange this, I'm going to destroy this reduction here. If the blue one was here and I try to exchange it, it's going to destroy the reduction here. So the only way that we're going to do a clean exchange without destroying anything we did here is move the blue on top. Because when it's on top, you can see that when I move it down, this is safely tucked away. This is done by standard orientation algorithms, so we're going to want to rotate these up. Do it any way you want, as fast as you want. You can do RIDA, RDs, you can do whatever algorithms that you want. Yeah, just for the sake of ease, I'll just go ahead and RIDA, RD it into submission. RIDA, RD, RIDA, RD, RD. So this is up, move it to here, and now do this one. D, RIDA, RD. Now, you could stop with there. As long as you have the two corners that are being affected, as long as they're moved to the top, you can stop. You don't have to put these up here. You can if you want, but there's really no necessity to do that. So we'll leave that go. But just so you know the qualifications, the two that need to be swapped, they're up here, they're controlled by different corners, and the same colored piece, in my case it's blue, is going to be on the top so that we don't mess up with this. So what we're going to do to get out of this is we're going to negotiate an exchange between these two, which they can easily share for this one and this one. So let's go ahead and move the ones that we want to exchange on the bottom. Move them on the bottom over here. Now in so doing, now notice when the blue ones are on the top, whether I put this in place or the blue triangles in place, it's not going to touch these. So we can be assured that we're okay. So what you're going to do, and again, it's kind of easy to visualize, just go ahead and put this in where it wants to be. So it wants to grab this guy here. So I'm going to take this and just turn it in. Bang, it's here. Now remember, we're negotiating an exchange, so I'm going to take this, put the blue one in position, and just move it back to here. Okay, so now this got what it wanted, but now this guy needs to get what it wants. And what it wants is sitting right over here. So let's go ahead and put it in the position where it's going to grab it, which it's already right here. It got that blue as an exchange. It doesn't want that blue here. It actually wants this. This rather. So now what you're going to do is simply move it back to get it. And now it's going to give up its blue. So move the blue in place and move it back. Then you have a blue for blue exchange. This can easily move down to match this, and this can easily move down to match this, and you see this is where it needs to be, and this is where it needs to be. So it's as simple as that, and your apparent parity, which is really just a false equivocation of these two pieces, is done. So now everything here is pretty much in a reduced state. So now what we're left with is, let's go ahead and do our 3x3 solve. We might as well get these two guys back to our 2u, to our 2u, to our 2u. Now don't worry about these spiky things here, but what we're going to want to do is orient the edges. So you've got your L configuration here, so to get it right into all of them oriented in the L, that's F, U, R, UI, RI, FI. That's a way to skip the line and just go right into here. This is good. This is not, so let's wheel this into a place. This is good, these are not. To the right and to the left, R, U, RIU, R, 2U, RI. So these are all oriented, and now it's just a matter of putting these guys in where they're supposed to be, not where it's supposed to be, not where it's supposed to be, no and no. So we'll just randomly do turn, 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 and turn. I'm just doing a switching of the corner algorithms here. This is where it needs to be. So we'll do the same algorithm. This is 3x3 strategy, beginner's method. You all should know this. Not yet. One more should do it. And turn. Okay, this is where it needs to be, as is this, this, and this. Now you're already probably noticing there's a little bit of trouble in paradise here, but let's go ahead and do the corner rotation here. R-I, D-I, R, D, R-I, D-I, R, D. Do it again. R, D, R-I, D-I, R, D. Move this one in place. R-I, D-I, R, D. And again. And good. Well, not so good, because look at this. This guy is rotated. So we appear to have another kind of a parity. All these corners are in, the edges are reduced, everything is where it needs to be, but this is rotated wrong. Now we can go ahead and put all these in and see it for the same thing. We might as well fix this now. So what exactly happened here? Well, it's not really an issue with rotation, it's an issue with exchange. So what we're going to do is just go ahead and take this corner that's rotated wrong and just rotate it back. Rotate it in here, and then you can see where the real problem is. The real problem is these guys need to be exchanged or 3-cycled. Because of that, there's no real parity here. There's just a 3-cycle that's needed. And with the 3-cycle, you can either do it intuitively or you can do a commutator. We showed you how to do commutators. In terms of how we can put together commutators to 3-cycle, but I don't think we need to do that. Instead, what we're going to do, and you can do this in algorithmic form or just kind of watch what I'm doing, it's real simple. What we have to do is we have to just keep going back and forth exchanging these. So what I'm going to do first is this guy needs to come up to here. I want to rotate this into this position. So I'm going to do a U to move it out of the way. Then I'm going to rotate this counterclockwise to be in the position where it needs to be here. Then I'm going to do a UI to move it in. Then I'm going to do another counterclockwise rotation here to put this back in. I'm going to take this here, move this into here, because now this will be lined up with this piece here. Do another counterclockwise rotation, which puts this back in, and then bring this back with the UI. So that fixed that. It's a real simple fix. Basically, you just do U, counterclockwise, UI, counterclockwise, U, counterclockwise, UI, counterclockwise. It might not put it in right away. You might not see it put in immediately. Just keep doing it again. So if I do it again like that, turn, U, counterclockwise, UI, counterclockwise, U, counterclockwise, UR, counterclockwise. You'll see that it's rotated. But in order to keep doing that, I'll have to do it twice if I want to do counterclockwise. Or I can just do it clockwise. Turn, clockwise, UI, clockwise, turn, clockwise, UR, clockwise. So you can just kind of coordinate it with that. So that's how to fix those two situations. Pretty simple, no algorithms are needed. So now what we're left with is putting these in. But what we can do is we can do any number of whichever commutator that you came up with. We can do the ones, one of the two that we came up with in part 1 of the video, or you can do your own. But the whole point is, rather than have to do all of these, by doing the reductive steps when it was simple to do so, we eliminated doing up to, I think we calculated between 16 to 24 different sets of algorithms just to place 2. So it's a lot more easy to go ahead and do it this way. Really, the whole concept with any solve is you try to do it intuitively for as much as you can, and then you start using algorithms at the end when placing these, reducing these will cause nothing but trouble with these guys. And in order to do that all the way through, you have to do a lot of really weird and strange positionings in order to do that. So the way that one of the algorithms can go is, as you recall, this would move to here, this would move to here, and this would move back up to here. So where does this go? Well, this doesn't belong here. So it probably belongs here, which means that's the same piece as here, which is the same piece as here. So I'm going to just rotate this down, blue to blue. Now pink to, well, does it belong here? This piece does belong here, so it'll move this in, and then this gray will come up to here. So I'm just going to move this to here. So now we'll just do whichever commutator you want. We'll do the up, up, down, down, because it's so much easier to memorize or remember. So that's up, up, down, down, and then move this middle piece in place since you isolated it, then go up, up, down, down, and move this middle piece back. So this got rotated in, and we just rotate this back. Now the good news about the deconstruction and reconstruction is that there's non-overlapping things, so you don't have to put them back in the same order that you took it out. So it does make it easier. So let's do another example of one. We did this gray one, we might as well put this gray one in. Where does it belong? Well, from here to here, here, it actually will belong over to here. So I can maybe do that by moving it in like so, and then moving it up like thus. So remember, it's got to be here on this side here. So this will come to here, red to, well, we could put a red or we could put a blue. Maybe this blue. Does this blue belong here? Well, this side to this side, this to this. So this is all within the same orbit, so to speak. So this will work. We'll just move it to here. Now remember, you got to position it in the right place, which is going to be just here to this side. So up, up, down, down. Remember, we've isolated this piece here to move independently. Put it in, then up, up, down, down, and move it back. This gets turned back, this gets turned back, and then we plop that in here. So that got moved there. How about this pink? Well, there's only one place for it to go, which is here. I can't move from this corner, so I could turn it like this and like this. It's got to be right up to here. Not here, but here. This is the place. In this center, or rather in this center, edge. In this edge to this area, and this edge to up again. Pink to pink, so this comes to here. Blue to, well, does it belong here? This shares an orbit with this, so yes. Move this back here, and this moves all the way down here. Up, up, down, down. This is isolated, so turn it. Up, up, down, down. Bring it back. This moves back over here. This comes to here. This is here. And again, because these turns are non-overlapping, it's real easy to see. So this pink is all done, so I can leave this for the time being. This yellow actually belongs in this orbit, which belongs here, and then here. So I'm just sort of following the orbits around. So I don't even have to move this to come here, this to go, let's see, a red for red exchange. Well, what's a red that can easily flip into here and not cause any trouble? Well, this red belongs in this orbit, which belongs here, which belongs here. So I can take this, turn this here to do the proper exchanges. So up, up, down, down. Move this middle one here, up, up, down, down. Move the middle one back. You can see we didn't cause any issues there because we just counted the orbits. And move this back. Now I hope I'm clear about this orbit, that this piece is not equivalent to this piece. This piece is equivalent to this piece, which is equivalent to this and to this. On the other side, this piece's shape is equivalent not to this, but to this. You can see that it's opposite here. So I can figure out which one will go flat based upon those orbits. So that's how I do it. All right, this blue, where should it go? Well, this blue belongs in this orbit, which actually belongs here, not here. So it would do no good to move it into here. Here, it does belong in this orbit though. So if I wanted to move this blue in the proper place, I could move this up to here and just rotate this up to here. So blue to blue. Now how about I stick a red one in here? There's only one red one left, so it's got to be this. So I'll move this up and across. So up, up, down, down. Move the middle. Up, up, down, down. Middle goes back. Again, easy to find our way back home with this. You can always just match up these edges here so you can see how close we're getting. Alright, why don't we put the rest of the yellow one in? This has no choice but to go to here. Does this belong here? And it does. Does this belong here? Well, this belongs in this orbit because it's out of place here, which will take it to here, which will not be appropriate here. So that's okay. We'll let that one lie, because at least we'll place two. So this to here, this winds all the way down to here. Okay, up, up, down, down, move this across, up, up, down, down, move it back. Okay, just as we anticipated, this is out, but that's okay. This probably belongs here, since it belongs here to here. So we can just wheel this in like so, and we don't even have to move it. This to here, this to, well, it'd be great if I can use this gray one here, but I can't for the time being. Does it belong in this plane here? Well, let's see. This belongs in this plane, which belongs in this, which belongs in this. So this one will pop into where it needs to be here. This might not be the best way of doing it, but what the heck. Up, up, down, down, put it in, up, up, down, down, bring it out. Bring this where it's supposed to be, and we can fairly easily find our way home. I think fairly easily, yeah. This comes here and here. Okay, now this is an interesting configuration. These two need to swap, but we're going to get a little fancy with this, but I'm going to move this in so it's primed to leave. It belongs here, so it does belong here. So I'm going to move this here. Now I can actually pull this away from here. So I'm going to pull it away from here, bring it to here, and just do one little turn. Well, it's exactly where it needs to be. So this to here, this needs to go to a blue one. Which blue one? Well, the blue one has to be in what orbit? Here, and then, well, it's got to be in this orbit over here. So here to here to here. That's where I want the orbit. So that means I'm going to take a blue and move a blue piece to here, which will be this piece over here. All right, so a little bit of deconstructing, this to here, and this to here, and just based on the orbits, we can predict what's going to happen. So we have up, up, down, down. This turns in, up, up, down, down, and this turns back. We can see that this is all in over here. Move this back to here, turn it, reconstruct it, and done. So finished. Nice, simple solve once you get the knack for it. The only issue is making sure you don't mess up as you're doing the reduction, but the reduction is really not a problem. Unless you try to reduce the whole thing, which could be an interesting challenge, but if you're looking for just a more efficient solve, we use commutators to help us with this. With any puzzle, ultimately that's what's going to help, but that's my way of solving this. But the whole key to this, the reason why I wanted to draw this puzzle out, was to talk about how commutators can be used for puzzles that get more and more complicated with more and more pieces. You need actually not even fear that. So that is the Dreidel 3x3 cube. Thanks for watching, and now I just have to decide, what am I going to do next? What kind of puzzles shall I draw out next? I'll see what kind of inspiration I have, and who knows what that'll be.